John, you've seen the stock reaction. It went from a very positive story at the weekend. I was on the conference call yesterday. Everybody was, absolutely enthralled by what you were saying. To now, T-Mobile down about 4%, Sprint down 13%. Is the market starting to believe that this is an impossible deal?
Well, I think. By the way, people have had so much time to think about this. I think people woke up this morning and dusted off old questions. Here's the deal. And by the way, we are more excited about than ever. And what we've got, and today's the start of doing two things. One is talk about this deal, talk about the value to shareholders. And the second is talk about why now and how it's going to get approved. Those two things together will drive shareholder value. This deal, you said $26.5 billion. It's actually a $145 billion enterprise value combined company. What we're going to have starting from day one is $75 billion of top line revenue, $55 to $57 billion of service revenue that's going to grow 2 to 4% compound annual. EBITDA will start at 22 to 23 billion, and it'll be up to margins of 55 to 57%. The fun part is the synergies are $43 billion with a $6 billion run rate, and the cash flow by 2025 will be 16 to 18 billion. So if you're a shareholder, this has huge value. Now, what's happening is people are asking the question, why now, and will it get approved? Now, that's my job starting day one. I am so confident of the plan that we've got. It's in 3 buckets why Washington, and I'm going to be there right after we finish. I'm going down there, and I'm going to be there quite a bit. So what we got is this. 3 points. What's different now? 5G. 5G is an imperative. The nation's leadership in 5G is at stake. We've fallen behind to China, and T-Mobile and Sprint together is the only company that can change that. So 5G is critical for the country. We're going to change that. Second, the Un-carrier. We're going to supercharge the Un-carrier. What we've said is that customers can look forward to a broader range of service, more rural competition, more broadband competition, lower prices, and last of the 3, jobs will go up.
Right.
So that's why it's going to get approved. And when that happens, the shareholder prices.
So these are the 3 pillars of what you're going to pitch to regulators.
Right.
A job-positive merger.
Yep.
You said 1,000 jobs in the next 18 months alone, right? Benefits to the consumer, particularly the rural consumer, and we know the administration
Business
has already
customers.
signed an EO on broadband, so
Right.
that's something squarely in the administration's court. And fending off China and Korea, I like how you threw Korea in there, on 5G.
Yep.
Will that be enough to sway a regulator that has really only given the go-ahead to one media deal? The others have had a lot of trouble.
Listen, the statistics are our leadership as a country in 4G spurred so much innovation. By the way, the 2016, there was $3.3 trillion globally in the mobile economy. It was driven by what we did. Uber, Snapchat came out of the 4G leadership. Facebook, Amazon, these companies grew because of. Now, in 5G, right now, what's going to be critically important, we're going to invest $40 billion over the first 3 years. We're going to take the 2.5 gigahertz spectrum from Sprint and the 600 and create a mobile layer that's going to drive this leadership. We expect what we do will then force AT&T and Verizon and others to invest significantly. Because what's happening right now, we talked about this last time, this millimeter wave deployment that Verizon and AT&T is doing. How about this? Do you know that if they wanted to do that nationwide, including rural America, it would cost $1.5 trillion. So it's a scam.
Couple of little things that are niggling. What if you have
niggling?
Yes, they are niggly items. What if you have to divest some spectrum? If the regulator says, okay, I'm giving you provisional approval if you divest, in which case a Verizon or an AT&T could perhaps pick it up at a discount, thereby giving them back the advantage, no?
Well, listen, Verizon and AT&T haven't really been that interested in their wireless customers. I mean, they both announced results last week that were terrible. Do you know that Comcast has added more wireless customers in the last 5 quarters than AT&T and Verizon combined? They're all asleep. They're trying to go into other industries. They're trying to use millimeter wave to create fixed broadband replacement in small geographic areas. So they need a wake-up call, right? One of the things that I did is I've already called to the chairman of the FCC and all the commissioners yesterday, right after I signed the deal, before I announced it. I said, hey, heads up. I want to give you a heads up. We're going to announce this deal. We have a definitive agreement to merge the two companies. And what I want to do is I want to ask you to don't presuppose any thoughts about what this deal is. Let me come talk to you. And everybody today has a thought. 4-3. It's not 4-3. Come on. There's 7 or 8 key wireless players now. Charter's coming in anytime soon. Secondly, more important, here's my headline. It's 0-1. There's nobody doing 5G. We're going to be the first. That's what the country should think about.
What about the consumer? Because AT&T did raise prices last month, finally. So that era of aggressive pricing looked like it was coming to a close.
Higher prices and crappy service. I mean, it's a great thing. That's why they're losing customers and revenue's going down, and they're trying to go in to be your competitor in breaking news.
Well, what about you, though? If the deal did go ahead, would you be able to offer the kind of competitive pricing you're offering now, including the bundling and everything that comes with it?
Yes. So, Vonnie, you know that when I go out today and I make headline statements, when I get down to Washington, when I get with the DOJ, when I get with the FCC, I'm going to need econometric models that show specifically how are you going to add jobs, where are those jobs going to be, what's the pricing, what's your service portfolio. And my statement today, which I stick to, is that consumers will be able to look to the new T-Mobile for a broader set of services at lower prices and faster speeds immediately.
When do you think people will really, in households, cut cords completely and go with wireless access to internet?
Listen, this is a great question. Boy, you're really good at this. Thank you. There's 2 parts to it, Vonnie. A couple things. Right now, what bothers me is that in rural America, many parts, they don't have any choice. Broadband, most of America has 1 or 2 alternatives. Business and enterprise customers predominantly use AT&T and Verizon. As we create this new network capability, 2 things. 5G is going to bring the following things over time. 100 times more capacity, 100 times speed, 10 times better latency, sub-millimeter, millisecond latency that will allow autonomous cars, et cetera. I can point in the next 3 years on my network to 30 times capacity and 15 times speed. So consumers are going to see from me faster speeds, better prices.
Sure, and I don't think that there are too many denying that that would be a great thing in some ways, right?
All in
but
favor?
The market is clearly saying that it doesn't believe that this will happen, at least in this way. What would you be willing to give up in order to have this happen? Because after all, Sprint, as much as it will offer you, it's not maybe crucial to you as much as it is to Sprint.
Yeah, I think, first of all, both companies, as of tomorrow, until it's approved, will be competing in the marketplace as well. The reason I'm not answering that question as to what you would give up, that's another of those traditional things where people think that what you do is you divest spectrum. I've already been clear in the call yesterday that I don't think I should divest any spectrum. That the spectrum portfolio that we have, which is about 55 megahertz of low band, 240 megahertz of mid-band, and we have about 200 megahertz of millimeter wave spectrum. That's a key requirement of free spectrum for me to create what the country needs for 5G. The big issue that AT&T and Verizon have is they don't have clear spectrum. If they want to deploy 5G, they have to kick their customers off LTE. So I would prefer that we look at about 5G, and I would hope to divest no spectrum. So.
What will be your main argument? You've said $6 billion in annual synergies, $43 billion overall, but you are keeping both headquarters in Kansas and Seattle, and you're going to be adding jobs.
Right.
So where do these synergies really come from?
Synergies come from the following places. At the time of the deal, we will have 110,000 macro sites, right? What we're going to do is find the best aggregation of towers and sites for the company. We'll probably keep 75,000 of those sites, add 10,000 more. So of the $43 billion worth of synergies, $26 billion come from network, and it comes from site decommissioning or capital avoidance. Very importantly, what I did with the $43 billion worth of synergies, 93% is OPEX and 7% is CAPEX. So what I didn't put in, as you can imagine, there's great opportunities for revenue synergy and upside. These are hard synergies, and I'm going off on the track record of what we did with Metro PCS. We committed to $6 billion worth of synergies over 3 years. We delivered 10 in 2 years. We doubled the size of the customer base and 3 times the employee base. That's the model I want to follow here.
Speaking of which, if it all gets done and you're hoping for the first half of 2019 already, 12 to 18 months maximum.
12.
Yeah, 12. Okay, got you on that. You'll have brands like Metro PCS, Boost, Virgin, Sprint. Will you get rid of some of those brands?
Right, and see, that's the important part. So amongst the things I said yesterday is we have 2 big headquarters locations with great people, two really great places to hire folks and attract talent. We named the company T-Mobile, but we own Sprint, T-Mobile, Metro PCS, Boost, and Virgin, and all the customers associated with that. We've not made any decisions yet on how to use that brand portfolio, but what a great problem to have.